Everybody needs to feel wanted. True. Some are introverts and others are extroverts. Some prefer small gatherings and some mostly enjoy large groups. But still, everyone wants to be wanted. No one is okay being marginalized as irrelevant, unnecessary, unimportant, undesirable. I think there are times we have all felt left out or unwanted. Maybe you were the kid who was picked last for the kickball team. Or maybe you were overlooked when a friend had a party and you never got an invitation. How about a time when a group decides to go see a movie, but they pick a genre of movie that they know you cannot tolerate watching? Sometimes this can even happen in a family. Have they ever made plans, like going out to eat, and didn't ask for your opinion? Think about how that felt for a moment. It hurts, doesn't it? Maybe you've been on the receiving end of these often painful situations. But have you ever been the person who is excluding someone else? Have you overlooked someone? Were you embarrassed when you discovered you were not including and showing care for the people in your life? Perhaps you have a friend who is shy and you didn't make the effort to include them. Or a classmate you find a bit boring, so you just don't want to try and reach out. Does this hurt too? Is it possible that you have significant relationships that have been neglected? Do you ever find yourself acting like certain people don't exist? Do you ever treat someone like an inconvenience when they show up to an activity or family gathering? I know it sounds horrible. I imagine that most of us have been both the recipient of this type of treatment and the one treating others in a similar way. I believe that we tend to treat God in this way more than we would like to admit. God wants to be a part of our lives, but we often walk around as if we are pretending that He is not there. And when we are asked to consider Him, do we ever feel annoyed? Why do we sometimes feel like God is such an inconvenience? I think it is easier to neglect God without feeling guilty about it when we look at Him as some sort of force, as if He has no emotions. However, when we realize that God is a person, that He is relational, we can see the cruelty of our neglect. Have you ever thought that God wants to be wanted? After all, we are made in the image of God and we want relationships with people who want us. Can you imagine God sitting in a corner wondering why no one will talk to Him or pick Him to be included in the conversation? I know there are aspects to these questions that feel strange, and rightfully so. Basically, I'm trying to help you to see the emotional side of who God is. The prophets, in speaking the voice of the Lord, help us understand the emotions of God. One striking statement from the mouth of God is found in Isaiah chapter 42, verse 14. God says, I have kept silent from ages past. I have been quiet and restrained myself, but now I will groan like a woman in labor, gasping breathlessly. This verse is not about God's efforts to deliver a baby. When we look at the context, God is speaking about the emotions He has due to the way His people are treating Him. His heart is breaking with the emotional intensity of a woman delivering a baby. Do we ever think about how our neglect, our disdain, our apathy concerning God breaks His heart? In the story we look at today, we will see how God was crying out for His people to love Him. He loves them despite their behavior, but He wants to be loved in return. In God's case, His desire to be loved by His people is not about a desire to feel needed. No, God wants what is best for us, and it is best to be in a relationship with our Creator, to be in awe of who He is, to be happiest when we are in Him. So, when God is pleading with us to notice Him, to include Him, to love Him, He is trying to get us to see that He is giving us the best thing we can ever imagine. Let us be honest today. Let's admit that we have a difficult time automatically including God. Let's admit that we often horribly neglect a great, merciful, persistent, loving, gracious, and forgiving God. Let's consider the ways we have abused our relationship with God. Can we help each other notice God today? Can we help each other love God? It is not only the right thing, it is the best thing. And we might find out that loving God is the best thing we can do. Not only for ourselves, but also for each other.